It's time for another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas, the podcast covering the intersection of business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life in general here in the Ozarks. Whether you are considering a move to this area or trying to learn more about the place you call home, we've got something special for you. Here's our host, Randy Wilburn.
Hey folks, Randy Wilburn here from I Am Northwest Arkansas. I'm excited to be here with you for another new episode, as I always am. Today we are sitting here in the beautiful sound studio at the Center for Innovation in the Fayetteville Public Library. I always like to give them a shout out because, as I was telling my current guest here, that this is one of the best things going. This is a great place to come. There's not many places that you can go to start a ghost kitchen, to cut an album with your library card. So suffice to say, you need to check out the Fayetteville Public Library. And this is not a sponsored post. This is just me sharing how much I love the Fayetteville Public Library and all that they have to offer. But today's guest is somebody that I have wanted to get on the show for a very, very long time. Her name is Lakisha Harper Bradley. She runs a business called My Tea by Design Therapeutic Art Studio. She's got one studio location in Fayetteville and one in Rogers. And we are going to just have some fun today, just sitting down talking with Lakisha Harper Bradley. And more importantly, I had her sister on, Stacy, about maybe a year and a half ago. And Stacy has an amazing story, a superhero origin story, and we shared that. And they're all connected with Nate Walls. And so there is just a bunch of gloriousness going on over there on Sunbridge, which is the road where their office is. The My Tea by Design space is there. Stacy's office is there. Nate's office for secondhand smoke is there. So they're just doing amazing things in our community. And so I wanted to share my platform with Lakisha today to give her a little bit of time to share with our listening audience a little bit about My Tea by Design. So without further ado, Lakisha Harper Bradley, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. And first of all, Randy, thank you for this beautiful opportunity.
Absolutely.
To take up space on your amazing I Am Northwest Arkansas platform. So thank you.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? Tell us a little bit about who Lakisha Harper Bradley is. Give us your Cliff Note superhero origin story, because we understand that part of it is the My Tea by Design studio, but tell us a little bit about the prelude to that.
Well, so hello, everyone. Yes, so my name is Lakisha Bradley. And yes, you know about the My Tea by Design, but who is that individual behind that? So yes, I was born and raised in Louisville, Arkansas.
Okay.
So it's Southwest Arkansas area, a small town called Louisville, about 5 miles from Stamps, Arkansas. If you've ever read the book, I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings, I've heard of Maya Angelou, Dr. Maya Angelou. That is the location that I am from, 5 miles from Stamps.
Wow.
And so I'm a graduate from the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Go Golden Lions, HBCU.
Yeah.
And I'm a mother, proud mom of 4 beautiful children, married to my high school sweetheart. Yeah, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend. I am Keisha.
You are Keisha. How did you end up here in Northwest Arkansas?
So through Walmart.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I've heard of that company.
Yes. A small company. No, not small at all.
Right.
But yeah, I interned with Walmart when I was in Pine Bluff.
Okay.
UAPB. And then upon graduation, I actually moved to Georgia.
Okay.
By the way of Chad Nora, who at the time was the regional personnel manager. Then he moved into the district manager role in Warner Robins. He really placed a mark on me. He empowered me. I know earlier we were talking about just leadership.
Mm-hmm.
He had those qualities.
Yeah.
And I said, wherever Chad is, that's where I want to go.
Okay.
And they said, Warner Robins, where is that at? It was like Georgia.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going there. And so that's where I went. And Georgia became my home for 6 years.
Okay.
Working in store operations in several different roles and capacities, from interim store manager. I was assistant, co-manager, interim store manager. And then got an opportunity to come into the home office in 2006.
Okay.
And at the time it was called Walmart University. Then it changed into talent development. And so I worked in several different capacities in the home office. And then my last role was in apparel strategy.
Wow. Wow. So where did the love of art come from?
When I was born, my dad. So my dad was an artist.
Okay.
And he loved art and drawing and all those different things. And he actually wanted to go into graphic design. But during that time, which was in the 70s, I'll say, he heard that some little baby was coming, and that was me.
That was you.
And so he was like, I got to work.
Yeah.
And so he chose to work to take care of his family. And so he had to quit his passion in pursuing of school and graphic design to take care of home. And so what ended up happening was he started teaching me. So he started teaching me about still lifes and just different things and ways to draw and shadowing and all of that. It became my passion as well.
Wow.
And I really loved it. And, you know, just growing up, life happens.
Sure.
And get into college and you're in band and you're doing everything else. And I put it on the shelf.
Oh, man. You know, it's funny you say that. And that expression, putting it on the shelf, I've always heard that expression used in different ways. And, you know, in church circles, you sometimes hear people say, well, don't make sure God doesn't put you up on the shelf, right? He doesn't use you the way that you were supposed to be used. And so whenever I hear that, and again, I mean, this is not a religious program, but whenever I hear that, I always kind of think about that and just the fact that we're all created for something. And whether or not we choose to use what we're created for, that can sometimes be the challenge, right? Yeah. And so, and you think about it, and like my heart goes out for your father, because clearly he had a love and a passion for it. He translated that to you, and then you took it and ran with it. So you're the next generation of artists in your family, and you took a skill set and an ability that your father had and amplified it so that now it's not only has it impacted you in your life, but you are now slowly impacting others.
That's true. That's true. And I never even looked at it like that, from the putting on the shelf. It's something that I always say,
right?
You know, because I was like, man, my gift was kind of collecting dust.
Yes.
But whoa, that's really insightful.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just think it's important for us. I think anybody listening to this podcast, one of the things that I try to always do is encourage, you know, share an encouraging word. That's why I don't do shock and awe. That's why I don't talk about politics, or not that you can't have encouragement come out of politics. I mean, Lord knows we need that right now. And religion, because again, sometimes it pits one person against another. So I try to focus on things from a larger perspective, right? It is more holistic in terms of finding kind of like that true north that we all have and that we're all searching for to get to that place that we're trying to go, that way station ahead of us that either our eyes are fixed on, or, you know, we have our head down looking at the ground just to make sure that we don't trip. So we're somewhere in between there. And I think it's important for us to recognize that. And so I think, you know, just having this conversation is really important, because it does remind people that there is so much life to live and there's so many things to do. And, you know, art plays a real big part of that, right? Whether we are the next Picasso or the next Frida Kahlo or somebody else, I mean, art plays a role in that in our lives. And so you have built a platform that allows people to kind of scratch that itch and kind of figure some things out. So tell me, how did My Tea by Design come about? At what point did you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to hang up my Walmart name tag, and I'm going to put on a My Tea by Design name tag?
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, first of all, it was not part of my plan. My plan was to get my 20 years in with Walmart. I loved what I was doing. I loved Walmart. I really believe, and still do, the mission of helping individuals, you know, save money so that they can live better.
Sure.
And Walmart really stretched me and grew me, you know, throughout my career and just life in general. And so I remember being in my last role, and you ever been in a position where you get this little whisper, but you're like, I'm not trying to hear it or listen to it?
Right.
My whisper was, it's time to go.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not trying to listen to that.
Yeah.
I got 4 more years. I'm going to get my lifetime 10% discount card.
There you go.
I'm going to be good. I've worked too hard. And it was still like, it's time to go. And I kept trying to fight it.
Yeah.
Like literally, I'm like, no, I am so comfortable right now. I don't need to disrupt that.
Sure.
And so this whisper really became a loud roar. And this is where my story gets a little crazy. So on my way to work, this is when they were working with traffic. Well, the roads on 49,
Sure.
doing the construction.
Mm-hmm.
I remember traffic coming to a halt. And then all of a sudden, I hear this message. I am placing a shift in your life. And then it went to more things. But at the end of it, it said, this is bigger than one person. Now go forth. So I literally received a complete download. At the time when I received it, and I'm, very transparent, like it was the download from above.
Okay.
And for me in that moment, God was very strategic, very strategic because traffic was at a halt.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my God, I need to capture this, like what I was hearing. And so I grabbed my phone and I tell people you're not supposed to text and drive.
Yes.
Mind you, my hand was on the steering wheel. Traffic was we weren't moving.
Right.
And I still am looking straight ahead and I just started doing like capturing it in my phone, what I was hearing. And when I got done and I looked at it and I was like, whoa. And something hit me. I cannot explain it, but it was, I gotta go.
Okay.
And I remember going into work. I remember going to my senior vice president and I shared it with him. I was like, I got to put my 2 weeks notice in. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I showed him my phone.
Yeah.
Mind you, I'm scared to death because I'm thinking about my family.
Yep.
I'm just thinking about everything.
Yep. Bills to pay.
Bills,
everything.
every insurance,
Yes.
stock options, everything.
Yes.
I'm about to let go.
Right.
And so he reads my phone and looks at me and we have other conversation and he says, you know what? You're going to be all right. And I can't explain it. Something, maybe I needed to hear that.
Sure.
A level of peace came over me. And I was like, I'm going to be okay. And so I remember later my boss came in and I said the same thing. I was like, hey, I got to put my 2 weeks notice in. I was like, what? Are you going to another team? Like, what are you doing? I was like, no, I got to go. And I showed my phone and they read it and they were like, oh, I can't even fight that.
Sure.
They said, if anything, can you give me 4 weeks? I said, oh, I got you because I want to make sure the next person is set up for success in my position.
Right.
And so September 16 of 2016, I leave Walmart after 16 years.
Wow.
And I cried all the way home because I said, what did I just do?
Oh, man.
And
9/16/16.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
And so that Monday, I remember putting my kids on the bus and I was like, what am I going to do? And that's really when the journey began. During that time, I know I became very angry. I was mad at everyone. I was mad at my husband, my sister, just friends, just everybody. Because I was like, you know who you are, but who am I?
Right.
Because I was known as Miss Walmart.
Right.
People knew I had built good relationships.
Sure.
And people knew, oh, if I reach out to Keisha, she going to help, make it happen. If it's a line down in the store, like literally she's going to help make it happen.
Yeah.
To get that line down.
Right.
And when that was stripped from me, I was no longer Miss Walmart.
Wow.
I was just Keisha. And so I was stripped naked. And I really had to go back to finding who I was. And so I picked up the paintbrush and started painting. And when I started painting, it became very therapeutic for me. And during that time frame, again, I was receiving more downloads of My Tea by Design. I'm like, what is that? What is that? Why am I hearing these things?
Right.
But I wrote it down. And then other things, just even down to the logo that's on the aprons, just everything was being revealed to me through that process. And I said, you know what? Because this is so therapeutic for me, healing for me, I was like, I want to pay it forward to others.
Sure.
And so I remember reaching out to, it was Pastor Marcus Carruthers.
Okay.
With Dwelling Place. It's no longer here.
Okay.
And I said, I want to do a workshop for the youth called Conversation in Paint. I said, I don't want to tell them what to paint. I don't want everybody painting the same thing. I said, but I want to have this conversation around specific topics. And through this discussion, I want them to paint what they took away from it. So when they leave with these conversation pieces. So it grew from that to the juvenile detention centers, to assisted living facilities, to community paint nights, all these different areas to what it is today.
Yeah. And I mean, you have served all kinds of groups and organizations. And just like you said, even incarcerated young people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you've created opportunities for a lot of folks to, embrace their inner Picasso and communicate really through art, because that's essentially what you're doing. When you get inspired by something, the canvas takes on a whole new meaning.
Mm-hmm.
That's your journal. It's a number of things. It's your film. It's whatever it is for you. That's what the canvas becomes. And then you're able to utilize the art to really kind of not just expand your thinking, but also tell the world who you are and what you're all about.
Exactly. And that's really what it is. And just like my tagline, imperfectly painting with purpose, because in life is imperfect.
Yep.
But through the process, we're all creating our own personal masterpiece on purpose. And so it really starts with, when I say mighty by design, it's a metaphor. And it really does mean that we're all mighty by design. We all have unique gifts, but it starts with us believing in ourselves in order for the gifts to come out.
Right.
The T is a representation of your truth. So bringing your raw, authentic self to any space that you go within. And that's what I really try to do, no matter where I'm at, community paint, who it is. And we have such a diverse group of individuals that come, is about embracing this safe space where you can truly be you with no judgment.
Yeah. And I think we all need that safe space too, because I mean, there's a lot of judging going on in the world. And I think we have to be mindful of that. And too often we define ourselves based on how other people see us. And I think you need to step back for a moment and think about how you see yourself and recognize that there is no one out there that can be your judge as far as that's concerned. It's like Tupac said, only God can judge me. So, I think it's important for people to hear that too, right? Because I think nowadays with social media and with just the instantaneous gratification that we have of these devices that I have, my phone in my hand, and what it allows me to do, it allows me to stay connected with the world. But at the same time, the byproduct of that connectivity is the fact that we're constantly in a place of looking for acknowledgement, seeking out affirmation that I'm okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just put this post out. I hope I'm okay. And so I think it's important for people to recognize these tools for what they are. But then when you pick up a paintbrush and you allow yourself to, really think about who you are and, how the world should see you, then that just creates a new opportunity for you to kind of let some of those layers off and let people and reveal to the world who you really are. And I think that's one of the things that art really allows us to do.
Yes, I'll tell you, just even from our community paint nights and just different workshops and individual sessions that I've done with people. And I get it because I was going through the same thing. I'm still working through it. It's like when you put a blank canvas or even a canvas that it's pre-sketched, it's really interesting to see how people will this kind of shock factor or this oh my gosh, you're going to judge me. And I'm like, nope, there's no judgment.
Yeah.
You go at it. Yeah. Have fun. And it seems like once we give each other permission to just have fun,
mm-hmm.
Oh man, I know when people are really in it, when they start standing up at their seats. But it's so beautiful because in that moment, they've chosen to become very present.
Yeah.
A gift to themselves and others in that moment.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing to see individuals become empowered, through the process.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's amazing. So you've basically taken this whole idea and you've developed a business around it. Tell us about the whole business, because and it's not you are really clearly that quiet voice that you heard on I-49 back in 2016 has led you to this place where you are now, where you have 2 locations. You're being acknowledged at places like Crystal Bridges. I saw you take a picture with Alice Walton, and there's I looked at, I was like, oh man, look at Lakisha. So but every time I turn up, I see you somewhere doing something because of you embracing this whole platform of creativity and art. And so just tell us a little bit about the business of Mighty by Design and how that has kind of fully come to fruition. And then end that with, we'll talk about a program that you and I both participated in. So
awesome. Yes. So the business part of it really evolved organically. I started mobile. And my background outside of Mighty by Design, also my husband and I, we have a mobile detail company as well. And
what's it called?
Immaculate Image.
Okay.
Mobile
cool.
detail.
All right. Shout out to Immaculate Image.
Yes. Check us out.
All right.
But also, again, I'm going to bring it back to the Walmart. My time there really taught me a lot about business.
Yeah.
And understanding business and understanding the customer. And so how Mighty by Design truly got created was in a very organic way, but keeping in mind things that I learned from Mr. Sam's concepts,
right.
customer first and all of that.
Sure.
And bringing quality service. And so what I did from starting from mobile into a brick and mortar in 2018, I ended up with a brick and mortar. So the studio space that's located in Fayetteville. And I really wanted to be very thoughtful in the space.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk in, it does not look like, I'll say, the average art studio.
Right.
It is a space that almost has like a spa-like feel, but that can be converted into different things.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come inside, it's available for the community to use.
Right.
So I have it set up in a way that artists, if they want to grow their business, grow in their gifts, they can use it. Other individuals. But also it's a space to where you can come in, do workshops, do individual one-on-ones, but we also have counseling. So when you come in there, there's a room within the space with partner with Amber with Karsten Counseling.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So
where we actually offer during the week counseling sessions.
So it's more than just, so the therapy is in the art, but then there's also a fallback if you need additional counseling or help.
Yes, because the thing is, what I've discovered through the process is that, one, not everyone is ready for counseling.
Right.
And so being able to utilize art as this gateway to an introduction into going into counseling has been a great transition for people.
Sure.
But in addition to that as well, too, not everyone can afford counseling.
Yeah.
So creating a safe space that people can still feel as though they're able to release through my different programs that I offer in a safe way is another alternative form of, towards mental wellness. And so we try to create this holistic approach for individuals to be able to utilize through the process.
Okay. All right. I love that. So you're doing that, and then you got a chance to participate in the summer cohort for the Builders and Backers program, which was a program that's part of the Heartland Forward initiative that's taking part in all the Heartland states in the United States. And so Heartland Forward had a talk here. I think it was in the spring. They had a big meeting, and there were the Waltons were involved. There were a lot of people involved about how to spur on economic and, more importantly, entrepreneurial growth in the Heartland region. And I know you applied to be part of the Builders and Backers program, and I think you did it at the last minute like I did.
Yes.
We both got accepted for our business plans, and I'd love for you to just kind of share with the audience what your experience was like going through that program, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, wow. Well, I will tell you my experience overall was very informative.
Okay.
It was full of rich content going through the program because it really was, thinking about how I started organically, I was like, boy, I wish I had some of this insight and information
back then. Yeah.
Yes. About, experimenting and the power of being able to experiment your ideas.
Sure.
And testing those out in a way that is cost effective through that was very, very helpful. But also just the building of relationships through the program, really honing in how to really, focus the product or the project that you're wanting to do was very, how can I say the word? It was very needed for me. I'll just say it like that. Yeah, it was really needed to be able to do that. But overall, I think it's an amazing program. I really believe that more people should sign up for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The fall cohort, as we're recording this, the fall cohort is going through now, and they will have a spring cohort, and maybe they'll even have a winter cohort. But I'll put a link in the show notes for this episode to the Builders and Backers page so that you can learn more about that and learn more about Heartland Forward and all the great stuff that they're doing. But you and I got a chance to share at a capstone event in Rogers a couple of weeks ago. And, we each got to kind of tell our story and what our experience was like. And I know a lot of people were moved by what you've been able to do. And you're absolutely right. I think a lot of times when we start a business, we get so myopic in our focus that we don't see anything else around us. But it's important for us to engage others because, it's a big world out there. And I think we need different ideas, different viewpoints to help carry the vision that we are holding in our heart for whatever type of business that we're running. And I know for you, that was something that was really pronounced for you. Mm-hmm. And it gave you additional skills and techniques that you can now employ with MIT by Design that you did not have prior to participating in this program. Is that fair to say?
That is very fair to say.
Okay. Yeah. And I feel the same way. So that was a setup really, because I knew what your answer was going to be, because I know how I felt about it. And I was like, yeah, I need to do more experimenting. I need to try more things. And I think, what would you say about Northwest Arkansas in terms of it being, fertile ground for startups, for small businesses, for entrepreneurs that really want to get their idea off the ground? Would you say that Northwest Arkansas is a good place to do that?
Oh, yes. Northwest Arkansas is most definitely a great place to set your idea, moving forward
yeah.
In the area. I saw it happening back in 2016, several years ago, of the growth that's been happening here. And so it's a beautiful area to be able to really grow your ideas and your thoughts to really make it happen.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And I'm always running into people that have great ideas to share with me that are, very forthright with their feedback and encouragement about the podcast. So I am very appreciative of that aspect. And, now I'm just trying to get that $1 million idea off the ground. So we'll see. Yeah, it will happen. It will happen. So we will see. So what is next for MIT by Design? Again, you just opened up. You obviously are expanding. So business has been pretty good. You have a location in Rogers. Is that in the downtown Rogers area?
Yes, it's in partnership with Amber with Carson Counseling and my sister Stacy with Lighthouse Solutions.
Okay.
And so we call it the Holistic Healing Center.
Okay.
Right off of Poplar Street
in
Rogers, where we're basically, again, taking our concepts of, offering this wellness, so counseling, art, resources, through Lighthouse Solutions,
sure,
to be able to serve within the community there. And so that's really our, what's next is being able to connect and collaborate with organizations in the community, because again, it's bigger than one person.
Sure.
And so I know that at MIT by Design, we're going to continue to plant the seed and, watch it grow. I have to put this caveat out there also, is to say that MIT by Design is the first and only therapeutic art studio in Arkansas.
Wow. Okay. I think I saw that somewhere. Mm-hmm. So, and that's so nobody's come to you and said, hey, we want to open one of these in Little Rock, or?
Hey, I'm very open to it. Hey, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because, and here's the reason why. Especially, long term, my goal is to be able to bring one back to Southwest Arkansas.
Sure.
Because again, growing up, access to mental wellness is not there. It's not available.
No.
The closest you're going to have to do, you're going to have to drive to Magnolia, you're going to have to drive to Texarkana.
Sure.
And if you don't have a vehicle, how are you going to get access to it?
Yeah.
And so being able to create what I call, which is my goal, is to create studios of the community.
Yep.
In these areas, in locations throughout, is what I anticipate and I know will happen one day. And so if anyone is interested in joining hands with me on this, give me a call.
Oh, well, you heard it here first, folks. Lakisha Harper Bradley is down to coordinate and to partner up with some folks that have good ideas about how to expand this whole concept of the therapeutic art studio beyond just the confines of Northwest Arkansas. And certainly, if for no other reason, to combat mental health issues that a lot of us struggle with here in this country, let alone the world, right? I mean, mental health is one of those dirty little secrets that nobody ever wants to talk about. But the reality is that it's right in front of us, and we see the lack of real mental health care in everyday life. And so I think it's important, whether you pick up a paintbrush or you go see a counselor, that there is help for you. And I think that more people like Lakisha need to have the opportunity to create and develop a platform like this so that we can all benefit from it. Any final thoughts before we close out?
Final thoughts. I would just say, if you are in need of mental health services, number one, if you are right now in a tough situation and you're at your last wit's end, I'm going to tell you, call 911.
Right, of course.
In regards to that. But if you are truly in need of any type of mental health services, mental wellness services, or looking for workshops for your teams or organizations, because a lot of corporations need this in a safe way as well.
Sure.
Feel free to contact us. You can go to www.mytbydesign.com. When you go to the website, you'll see access to art, but you'll also have access to counseling.
Absolutely.
And so check us out.
Yeah, no, I would definitely encourage folks to do that. And again, that website is www.bydesign.com. So definitely want to encourage you to check out Lakisha and the rest of her team there at My T by Design. Again, both with offices in Fayetteville and in Rogers, and continuing to grow. If you've got a corporate event that maybe you're thinking you want to try something a little different, Lakisha is your girl. She can definitely put it together for you. So I would encourage folks that are listening to this to think about that. And I think that your team will thank you later for that. So, well, Lakisha Harper Bradley, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and spending some time with us today. Your story it's important. It is illuminating. It's encouraging. And if nothing else, it just reminds me of the power of creativity. And I think we all are creative beings.
Yes.
I mean, we were drawing art on caves 36,000 years ago. We've been telling stories since the beginning of time. And so it's wholly appropriate for us to embrace art at this level. And whether you drive a Ford F-150 or you've got a beater or whatever, there is some creativity in you and it needs to come out. And you know what? Check out Lakisha Harper Bradley and the folks at My T by Design Therapeutic Art Studio. They can help you bring out that creativity. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, there you have it. Another episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. To learn more about us, check out certainly our website. You can visit iamnorthwestarkansas.com. You can listen to this podcast and sign up for our free newsletter to keep up with us and all things NWA. Sign up today. You can subscribe to the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast wherever you listen to it. And please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Remember, our podcast comes out every Monday, rain or shine. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and we'll see you back here next week for another new episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. Peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. Check us out each and every week, available anywhere that great podcasts can be found. For show notes or more information on becoming a guest, visit iamnorthwestarkansas.com. We'll see you next week on I Am Northwest Arkansas.